He was told he was too small to ever play professional football. Doctors said his body would stop growing. His own country's federation didn't think he was worth the risk. Today, most people call him the greatest to ever play the game. This is the story of how a kid who needed injections just to grow ended up rewriting what's possible on a football pitch. Lionel Andres Messi was born on June 24th, 1987 in Rosario, Argentina, the third of 4 children in a working-class family. Football was the family language. His grandmother walked him to games before she passed away when he was still young, and he said everything he's achieved since has carried a piece of her with him. By age 7, he joined the youth system of Newell's Old Boys, and local coaches were already whispering that this kid was different, not because of his size, but because of what he could do with a ball glued to his left foot. Then came the problem. At age 10, Messi was diagnosed with a growth hormone deficiency. The treatment cost hundreds of dollars a month. His family's insurance wouldn't fully cover it, and Newell's couldn't afford to either. For a moment, his career looked finished before it started, not because of talent, but because of money. Then came the move that changed everything. Barcelona's youth academy arranged a trial, and within minutes, the club's sporting director knew they had to act before anyone else could. There was no contract paper on hand, so according to football legend, the deal was written on a paper napkin right there at the table. Barcelona agreed to fund his medical treatment and relocate his entire family to Spain. Messi was 13 years old, leaving behind everything he knew to chase a future no one could guarantee. He was homesick. He barely spoke, according to teammates, for the first several months. But on the pitch, something clicked immediately. He tore through every youth level Barcelona put in front of him, often scoring against boys years older than himself. On October 16th, 2004, at just 17, Messi made his first team debut. But it was the 2008 to 2009 season that turned him from a promising talent into a global phenomenon. Barcelona won the treble, the Spanish League title, the Domestic Cup, and the Champions League. And Messi was at the center of nearly everything. Under manager Pep Guardiola, he was reinvented as a false 9, a forward who drops deep before shredding entire defenses on his own. Defenders didn't know whether to mark him tight or leave him space. Either way, he punished them. He won the Ballon d'Or, awarded to the world's best player, in 2009, then again in 2010, 2011, and 2012. That same year, he set a record.
Di Maria just skips past Dembele, gets in front, takes the contact, says thank you very much. 100% penalty.
Opponents have made 2. This is what about the first half of the first half played in the World Cup final. How many billions of eyeballs are watching these 2 men 12 yards apart? Messi scores!
Just cool, calm, and slots it the other way, waits
By scoring 91 goals in a single calendar year, a number so large that most people in football hadn't believed it was possible before he did it. But one thing followed him for over a decade: success with Argentina's national team. He reached the World Cup final in 2014 and lost Saint. He reached the Copa America final in 2015 and lost Saint. He reached it again in 2016 and lost on penalties. After that defeat, an exhausted Messi announced he was retiring from international football altogether. Critics said it loudly. He could win everything with Barcelona, but he couldn't do it for his country. He returned from retirement a few months later, but the pressure only grew heavier with every tournament that slipped away. Then, in 2021, it finally happened. Argentina won the Copa America, beating rivals Brazil in the final, on Brazilian soil. Messi led the entire scoring and assist charts. For the first time, he lifted a major trophy in an Argentina jersey. A year later, at 35 years old, in what most assumed would be his final World Cup, Messi delivered a tournament for the ages. He scored in nearly every round and carried Argentina through a shaky group stage, a bruising quarterfinal against the Netherlands, and a semifinal against Croatia. Then came the final against France, a match many now call the greatest World Cup final ever played, a back-and-forth battle that went to extra time and then penalties. Argentina won. Messi finally had the one trophy that had eluded him his entire career. The image of him lifted onto his teammates' shoulders, draped in a black bisht robe, holding the World Cup, became one of the most iconic moments in the sport's history. He eventually left Barcelona, the club he'd represented for 21 years, before signing with Inter Miami in the United States on July 15th, 2023, where his arrival pushed Major League Soccer into a global conversation it had never quite reached before. Along the way, he won 7 Ballon d'Or awards, more than any player in history at the time, and broke records that had stood for decades. But the numbers were never really the point. The point was a kid from Rosario who was told his body wouldn't let him make it, who needed a napkin contract just to get a chance, and who spent the next 2 decades proving that greatness isn't about how big you are. It's about what you do with the ball at your feet. That's the story of Lionel Messi, from a napkin in Barcelona to the biggest stage in football. If you enjoyed this, subscribe for more stories like this one, and let us know in the comments who you want covered next.